Good morning, good morning, good morning. Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. And how are we all today? It was a bit of a slow link up there on the old Tinternet. But anyway, what a beautiful morning this morning. A little bit of cloud in the sky, although one of the weather forecasts Jane had looked at this morning did say something about rain, but I'm hoping that might be a mistake. Well, not for us anyway. Well, anyway, there is a little bit of a mist in the sky. There is a bit of cloud, but it's still lovely and sunny. And it's looking like it's got the makings of a beautiful day. All the chickens are out running around, little ones as well, but I can't see any this morning actually. But yeah, it's looking lovely at the moment. And as we go across here, it's like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds this morning. There's Mr. Cockerel. How you doing, Mr. Cockerel? And all the others are all disappearing away into the hedgerow at the moment. And as we come round the back here, absolutely glorious, beautiful sunshine, absolutely lovely, and nice and warm. Although there is a bit of a breeze. I don't know if you can hear that at the moment, but yeah, it's absolutely spiffing today. And again, looking towards Sillavi, might be they're going to have nice weather over there today. Just a little bit of light cloud over there, but we will wait and see. Right, got to quickly get down to the news this morning. As Jane and I, we want to try and get to the vets this morning. Got to take one of the cats over there for a checkup, make sure she's okay. One of our cats is we think might be pregnant, so we want to check to see if she is or not, because yeah, she's got complications, and this pregnancy might not do her any good at the moment, so we want to get over and get her checked and just confirm. Right, quick shout out to Wiggy Win Stanley. Lovely to see you tuning in, fella. I hope you're feeling a lot better. I know you've not been in the best of health these last couple of weeks, and you're on the mend, but it's nice to have you tuning in. I think I did see a weather forecast there from Amanda. I did. She says, good morning, Ginge. Lovely and sunny day today. High of 18 degrees. Feel factor of 23. Oh, that's hot. Possible light shower this evening. Yeah, you were right. Jane was right. Get your tan topped up. Friday is the day. All right, then I shall try and get myself topped up with the tan. And obviously see what happens. Right, let's have a look at the news. And there you go, Mr. Cockerel making a lot of noise at the moment as well. I do apologise for his interference. Right, okay, let's quickly go through what's been going on in the last 24 hours. Just a quick reminder, if you want to get this 10% discount on apartments at Magdalena's Bar, you've still got a couple of days left, today and tomorrow, all right, to book those at that 10% discount at Magdalena's Bar and Studios. I know Dennis has been doing some work on them at the moment. So again, you can check those out on magdalenasbarstudios.gr, all right, or just go on to Facebook and you'll find a link there to Magdalena's. Right, okay, let's have a look at the COVID in the last 24 hours. It's not looking good again in the last 24 hours, to be quite honest. Yesterday, I reported you that there was 1,449 infections, new infections across Greece. Today, that number has risen slightly to 1,724 new infections recorded yesterday. That now brings the grand total up to 255,755, of which 51% are male, and that's the number since the beginning of the pandemic last year. Now, there were 22 new cases identified at ports of entry into Greece, which is up on the day before, where there was 11 identified. And at the moment, according to national stats yesterday, there were 3 new cases on Macardo, there were 4 new cases on Kefalonia, there were 4 new cases in Corfu, and there were 7 new cases on Zakynthos. Now, once I start checking the local stats, I can tell you now that number is just slightly higher than 7 recorded on the national. All right. At the beginning of the week, there was an increase in corona cases after a relatively calm period over the weekend. On Monday, there were 8 cases recorded that were identified through rapid tests. 7 of them are from contacts with other confirmed cases. and one of them was a confirmed case from within a family. So there we go. We start the week yesterday with 8 cases, although the national stats said 7. We will wait and see what the figures are for today, and obviously give you updates on that. Once again, just to remind you that Zakynthos is an area of concern. That means we are in the deep red, and we're in that area along with 8 other regions across Greece. So we're getting a special look at from the authorities on our infection rates. Case rate for Zakynthos, believe it or not, is 56.43 per 100,000. That's the way that we are rated at the moment, which is not good at all. Zakynthos, I had to rejiggle the figures yesterday because I realised I didn't put the extra days in that I should have done. So our figures at the moment now show that we are 264 positive cases since the beginning of the year. And this month alone, we've had 164 cases for the month of March. So as we now head towards April, we will see, hopefully, our infection rate may actually start to drop down. Anyway, at the moment, as for deaths across the country, I'm afraid they're up as well. I did report to you yesterday, 54 new deaths across Greece. Unfortunately, today, I can report to you now, there's been 65 new deaths across Greece, and our condolences to the families that are affected. That brings the death rate now to 7,880 since the pandemic started last year. 96% of those people had underlying health conditions or were over the age of 70. And the average death rate, again, before COVID in 2019 was around about 329 cases. Just to say one thing, to put that in context with the UK at the moment, because this all factors into you obviously coming here on holiday. The UK at the moment has had its lowest death rate since the pandemic started, and I think the death rate yesterday in the UK was only 16 for a population of 62 million. 15 deaths for yesterday is just a drop in the ocean. It's nothing really, and it's also showing you that in Britain things are really starting to turn around. So why are you still being locked down and being denied coming away? But anyway, I'll come to that in a short while, all right? Anyway, so at the moment, deaths-wise in Zakynthos, we've had 3 deaths since the beginning of the year. We had 1 in January, one in February, which was a 70-year-old woman, and we've had 2 so far in March. One was a 74-year-old, and the other was an 80-year-old woman again as well. Now, as for critical cases at the moment, critical cases are also up across the country. Last time I reported to you, there were 735 critical cases in ICUs across the country. Now that has risen up to 738, of which 469 are male and 269 are female. The average age of those people in critical cases is 68 years of age, and 86% of them have underlying health conditions or are over the age of 70. At the moment, as far as I'm aware, Zakynthos has 7 people being treated in the COVID clinic. No information if anybody's being treated in the ICU beds there, but at the moment, 7 people. And also just to remind you as well that the COVID clinic now does have bedding capacity for up to 19 cases that can be seen in the hospital in the COVID clinic. So anyway, but at the moment, the numbers still seem to be, down a bit anyway. Anyway, the big news today then is government ministers told that a state-run broadcaster here in Greece during an interview on Sunday night that the Greek government now is prioritising the reopening of the retail sector and schools by early April. And that's tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Anyway, the deputy minister to the prime minister, Akis Seratos, said a discussion to announce specific dates will be held this week so that the resumption of some activities can begin in early April. Priority will initially be given to stores and schools, followed by the food service sector, bars, restaurants, etc. However, that will be in outdoor spaces, and that is probably likely to be later in the month. I think obviously he's going to let Easter get out of the way before he decides that he's going to allow those to reopen. Anyway, he did say the government is basing its strategy for a controlled reopening of the market on the good weather. Yep, that's on the way. Vaccinations, they've been doing all right with vaccinations. Continued protection measures and home self-testing for coronavirus. Now, the home self-testing, that is still yet to be seen if that is going to work or if that's just going to cause more confusion because, again, pharmacies said now they are not going to be involved in testing, and I think that is a mistake. I think the pharmacies should be involved in testing because there'll be a lot of people who are not quite sure what they're doing. Some people probably won't even bother using the testing kits. And it's all about, if you test positive in your home, are you going to put a proper mark down on the database to say that you are infected or not? Because that's another issue that is likely to occur as well. But anyway, we're going to wait and see. Anyway, speaking earlier on Monday, the Education Minister, Nikki Karaskis, said the government wants to allow students in higher grades to return to the classrooms next week. Anyway, the team of experts advising the government on the pandemic will hold an emergency meeting on Wednesday, so that's tomorrow, to discuss whether to allow travel between municipalities as well as the reopening of schools and of retail. The meeting is a follow-up from the one held last Friday, which was March the 26th, and the announcement may be made on the same day or Thursday. So anyway, tomorrow will be a day, 31st, when we might know a little bit more clarity as to what direction we are now going to be heading towards. Now, meanwhile, the European Internal Market Commissioner Thierry Breton said on Sunday that he hoped Europe will have a summer tourist season this year, supported by the ramp up in its COVID-19 vaccination efforts. Breton, who heads the European Union's Executive's Vaccine Task Force, reiterated on RTL Radio and the TV channel LCI that the European Union should deliver 420 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine by mid-July. Enough to allow the bloc to reach a collective immunity. We have to shift to the next gear, he said, on the EU's vaccination campaign. This will be the price of having tourist season, but I hope that it will be comparable to last year's, which wasn't so bad in the context that we're in. The planned introduction of the common EU vaccine certificate in June would support the resumption of travel, he also added. The tourism and travel sector has been hammered by a year-old coronavirus pandemic, despite a partial revival last summer between the first and second waves of the virus in Europe. The EU has blamed big shortfalls of the AstraZeneca doses for its slow vaccine rollout and its dispute that has created tensions with former EU member Britain. Breton reiterated that the EU will ensure that coronavirus vaccines produced by AstraZeneca within the bloc stay there until the company returns to fulfilling its delivery commitments. Anyway, meanwhile, the Greek authorities will accept all vaccination certificates issued by Serbia, even for jabs that have not been approved by the EU Medicines Agency, such as the Russian and the Chinese. Such as the Russian and the Chinese. I didn't know the Chinese were making a vaccine. That's the news to me now. Greek Tourism Minister Haris Therakis said during a visit to Belgrade on Monday. Therakis held earlier talks with his Serbian counterpart, Tatran Makic, on how to facilitate travel between the two countries for the upcoming summer season. During a joint press conference later, the two officials examined and agreed to act on the basis of EU proposals and mutually implement 3 protocols at Greece and at Serbia's entry points. At the same time, Serbians who have not been vaccinated will have to present a negative PCR test. Finally, they discussed the option of accepting tourists who would present a document certifying that they had been infected by and recovered from COVID-19. Thearis also said the Greek government will examine the possibility of opening its borders with Serbia before the Orthodox Easter, as the vaccination program is progressing rapidly. This year, Serb tourists will be able to enter Greece via 2 border crossings from North Macedonia and 3 border crossings from Bulgaria. So there we go. The Serbians look like they're going to be on their way with their vaccination certificates. Again, it looks like vaccination certificates could become the order of the day if you want to get abroad. But first of all, we've got to see if Boris is going to let you guys come out. Anyway, also as well, another story related now to the cinema. Okay, Zakynthos Mayor Nikitas Arakis gave his side of the issue concerning the operation of the café concessions by the company Stigma in the Foskolos municipal cinema in an announcement that he released on Monday afternoon. Now, the mayor stated the following: when one has no arguments to defend one's position, one resorts to misinformation, he said. In fact, when it's a radio station, then the way it's easy and it's also inexpensive. The mayor announced that he did not even think or wanted to seek to stop the operation of the cinema. He said the misinformation insists that the uncivilized mayor, that's what he's been called because he didn't want culture, all right, wants to stop the Foskolos cinema. He says, I have never had a personal problem with the company Stigma. On contrary, I consider that this is a radio station that helped the citizens to evaluate from the behaviour of the guests of the station and the value of the presence of the new municipal authority. So basically what he's saying is that a radio station has its place in that it actually helps to promote people who want to get elected, etc., etc., and it has a duty of care to obviously show both sides of an argument and to discuss what's going on. However, he further stated, I have never dealt with who paid the bill of the electricity. Now, when he gets on here, he's talking about the building and about the fact that the building has had issues about problems with the power supply. I remember in the last hurricane that we had here, Anos, basically there was a lot of damage done to the building during that. Now he relates that statement that he further stated, I never dealt with who paid the bill of the electricity supply to the cinema. In other words, he didn't say to those who pay the bill, you need to fix it. He basically said, I dealt with the replacement of the electrical supply for the building because he wanted to avoid an accident. And trust me, some of the pictures that some of the local media were showing, the state of the electric cables that were exposed due to the bad weather, the municipality basically paid to have those done. Now, just a quick point for those people who actually live over here, believe it or not, a landlord is not responsible for your electricity safety of your supply, all right? We discovered this when we were getting household insurance here, that believe it or not, unlike in the UK where you have a problem with, say, the electricity coming into your building, you get in touch with the landlord and you tell the landlord this needs to be fixed, this box needs to be fixed. That is not the landlord's responsibility, believe it or not. It's your responsibility as the tenant, and it is your responsibility to get that fixed. So just a little warning for you. If you have an electrical fire in your house, you may ultimately be responsible because you haven't checked it and you haven't sorted it as the tenant. So I can understand here why there's such an issue about the electricity into the Foskolos cinema. All right, now, he said, my main goal is to upgrade Solomon Square with 2 goals. It's the aesthetic image and the allocation of the necessary credits for its maintenance. And again, the Foskolos Cultural Centre does need some money spending on it to basically get the building back into the state that into a good state. Anyway, he then went on to talk about the contract that Stigma have in regards to the cinema. He said the company that operates within the square have a primary role. He says Stigma's contract, he said, The contract of the year of 2012 was strong, so he didn't see any problems with that. The license for the year of 2012 is obviously valid, he said. That's when the contract was signed there. He said the sanitary license for the canteen and the area that was granted by the mayor of the time, Mr. Bazikis, in the year of 2013, based on the contract, determines total business area of only 8 square meters. All right. Customer room, 0 square meters for serving people, 0 square meters. Outdoor space area, 0 square meters for serving people, 0 again for people. Business capacity, 0, and people served obviously applies. Now, basically what he's saying there was that when they took over the running of the cinema from the Cine Club, there was nothing in their rules or the contracts they had that they could expand their operation outside of the building into where the area of the square was. And they subsequently took those locations and obviously expanded their operation within the cinema and moving into the square. He says, however, the company's subsequent actions, such as the execution of construction works without legal procedures or ignoring the contract, i.e. they started to put up screens and plastic sheeting, basically to keep the rain off, the weather off, and that was in contravention to the contract that they had. He also said the transformation of the cinema's customer waiting space into a bar it has also been in contravention to the contract that they'd signed initially for it. Now, the expansion of the cinema canteen as well, that also was not within the contract that they had with Mr. Bazikis at the time. And the construction of an additional toilet also was not within the contract of the deal signed with the Bazikis, the mayor at the time. Once again, just to remind you, when you live here in Greece and you take over a business, one big thing is about the plans that you have. Everything that you purchase in the way of running a business, everything must be on the plan with the planning office. And if you decide to put in a toilet or a bathroom or something of that without consulting the planning office, you're basically breaking the rules on regards of your tenancy. So obviously by building that toilet, which was a fabulous thing to do, but in the eyes of the municipality, it probably wasn't on the paperwork. And so therefore, in their eyes, it was an illegal adding to the building. Anyway, he also said that the abolition of the original space of the cinema fund, I'm not sure what he means by that, but I think it might be something to do with the Cine Club of the island. But anyway, he said the closing of the main entrance exit door by placing a refrigerators with the risk of an accident in case it needed immediate evacuation. Obviously, that was a no-no as well. And to be honest, I can't actually remember myself off the top of my head if that actually did happen at some point and maybe the fridges were moved. To be honest, I think that is going into the nitpicking stage of things. Anyway, in the year of 2017, an operating license was granted with the concessions of 220 square meters. Solomon Square, a new business, was created to the detriment of the operation of the cinema, which was particularly profitable without being provided for in the lease agreement and without paying the rent to the municipality. So basically somebody else, I think in that case, had actually took out a business agreement with the municipality for 220 square meters. They basically said that what the cinema's doing was a conflict of interest to them, and they weren't paying anything towards the municipality, where obviously this other business was, and that was a conflict of interest. But they're not saying what that business is, and off the top of my head I don't know which business they might be referring to. However, one thing that they did say was that the Cockney Greco, or the Red Rock Cafe, he actually congratulated them for taking down the outdoor encasements, the plastic sheeting and stuff like that, and moving their outdoor concessions from there and following the compliances of the rules that they had been supposed to be operating under as well. So at the moment, a little bit more clarity on the story concerning the cinema. I'm just praying that this is not going to stop the operation of the cinema. The cinema is going to continue to run after everything gets back to normal, and that some agreement can come, because at the end of the day, it was great having those tables and chairs outside the cinema. It was somewhere to sit and wait. Have a coffee before you go in or a drink before you go in and watch a movie. And also as well, it was somewhere to go if the weather was inclement and you had to wait for the next film to start, as it were. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on that story. We'll see what agreement is decided upon by the municipality in regards to that operation. But anyway, the mayor said, to reiterate, that the quality of life is important for the island. He had never wanted to close the cinema. He just basically wanted to ratify and clear up the contract from a previous administration, which he said was up in the air and probably not the most cleanest and straightforward contracts at the time. So, and finally, more talk of cheese, all right? Yesterday we talked about feta cheese. Today, Halloumi cheese. Yes, Cypriot cheese. It's finally received its coveted protected status on Monday after years of wrangling in the European Commission. Halloumi will now receive its coveted protected destination of origin status after an examination process that lasted 15 years. All right, with the Cyprus Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development obviously campaigning the EU to get that ratified. It also reminds me of the story of feta, where feta cheese now, only Kefalonia is allowed to use the word feta in cheese products. You now see this wording, cheese of Greek style cheese. All right, you're not allowed to use the word feta. It's Greek style cheese. Same with halloumi. I've got to be honest, I don't know anywhere else that makes halloumi cheese, to be quite honest, and I do like halloumi. It's the only cheese that squeaks when you eat it. And I never liked it at first. When I first went to Cyprus in 1979, I remember going up on a range shoot with the flight sergeant, and we had to go in and meet a local Mukta guy so we could do firing. And I remember this big washing up bowl full of homemade cheese, and the smell was something else. And they offered it to us. And I remember my flight sergeant saying to me, Ginge, eat it, show some respect. So I had to eat this feta from a washing up bowl. And to be honest, I never really got a liking for it. However, as I matured in my age, I then started to like it, especially when it's grilled, especially when it's in bread with lunza, which is like a bacon that's marinated in wine. A bacon and lunza ham sandwich with tomato is just divine. I've not had one of those sandwiches in years because you can't get lunza here very easy. If anybody knows where you can get lunza, let me know. And again, lovely food. So there you go, another cheese story for you. I'm going to quickly rush through, see who's online, because we're getting ready to pop to the vets. So Alfling is watching, nice to see you. Julie Meldrum is watching as well. Amanda Gregory, nice to have you tuning in. Yanni Takos is looking in. Heather Nash is also tuning in. Nice to see you, Leather. Andrew the Fridge Watkins, they're celebrating this week the victory of Wales in the Six Nations. Wiggy Winstanley over there in Cyprus. I bet you have yourself a halloumi and lunza sandwich from time to time. In fact, we were talking about those the other day, if I remember rightly, Wiggy. Anyway, Amanda Gregory, nice to see you. Shane Bowen up there on Exmoor tuning in as well. Nice to have you tuning in, buddy. Just remind you as well, my dance anthem show is now up online for you to enjoy. It did quite well in the charts last week, in the Mixcloud charts, and I was really chuffed about that. Heather Nash says, morning to you and Jane from a beautiful sunny Birmingham. I'm going to be sunbathing today. Amazing, they've got sunshine in Birmingham. Anyway, Yvonne Monroe is tuning in. Maria Hadelberg in Sweden is tuning in. I bet you won't be sunbathing. Gallimera says, Shane from a beautiful Exmoor with highs of 21 degrees Celsius. Happy days. My God, the weather is good there today. Yvonne Monroe is also tuning in. Steve Hinkling, he says, Gallimera, forecast here is supposed to be 20 degrees, but I'm not freezing. I'm not feeling it yet. Oh, don't. Give it time. Give it time. Melina Gussetti is also tuning in. Lovely to have you looking in. Ask your dad if he's going to extend his special offer for a bit longer. All right. Paul Booty is also tuning in as well. Rebecca Hughes is watching. Wendy Norcliffe is also watching as well. Denise Driscoll is watching as well. Roger Best is watching. Steve Inklin is still watching. Paul Fleming is watching. Ian Daly is watching. Annalise Wills is also watching as well. Chris Clark as well. Julie Edwards. Maria from Sweden says, good morning. Good morning, Galamera. Thank you. Thank you. Julie Stevens is watching. Steve Simpson is watching as well. Paul Green over there in Sillavi is tuning in. Steve Hodgson is watching. Sherlock Holmes is watching. 102B Baker Street, by any chance? We having Sherlock Holmes watch anyway. Nice to see you looking in, Sherlock. Paul Green says, morning, DJ. William Bland is also tuning in. Nice to see you, Will. Nick Haviland is watching as well. Patsy Ann Dobson says, good morning, Ginge. Another sunny day here in Margate. I'm so pleased. The sun is shining in Margate. Margate this August. The Specials are doing a live gig at the Dreamland. I wish I could go to that. That sounds like that is going to be awesome. And they've also got a tour kicking off in September. So if you want to go see the Specials, they're on in Margate in the summer. It's on the bank holiday weekend, so it's about the 28th. And I think it's their last show before they kick off their September tour. So all you Scar fans, just to let you know, the Specials are on the way to Margate. Anyway, Julie Meldrum is also tuning in. Janet Cooney is watching. Susie Angus is watching. Santi Pete, good morning, Ginge. All looking in. Have a great day. Cheers. Thank you very much, Santi Pete. I'm making the Northern Soul show today as well. And a few of your tracks you've asked for are going to be in that show. And I'll get that to Beats Radio ready for the weekend. Nick Roberts is watching. Vicky Wood is watching. Gail Marsden is watching. Neil Hornby. Seamus J. Mackey. Glenn Stanley. Glyn Marsden says, little do halloumi with chili. I've never had halloumi with chili. That sounds a bit extreme for me. Normal halloumi, love it, but I've got to have it grilled. I can't eat it raw. Got to have it grilled. Will Bland, thanks for the information, Ginge. That's all right, fella. He sounds like a Specials fan, actually. And also, Chippy Woods in Spain is tuning in as well. Right, that's it from me. Oh, all right, Christy Wildridge, she's tuning in now. I've got to go. We've got to get to the vets. I'll catch you later. You take care and have a beautiful day wherever you are, and I'll keep my ear to the ground. Ta-ra.